around all their different receivers, so it's not one guy you can kind of focus in on. So, you know, we're looking forward to the opportunity to play him.
Maybe I'm oversimplifying the question, but what changes for your defense whenever you guys take the road for 2 weeks?
Rephrase that one.
I mean, maybe it's too simple of a question, but, you know, what changes when you guys hit the road? I mean, any preparation-wise or anything like that?
Well, you try nothing really. You know, you try to change anything. You know, that's the nature of coaching. Is even when you're playing home or away, everybody tries to do the exact same things. You know, going in on Friday, you still want the practices, you still want your routine the same. Nothing you really want to change anything on a weekly basis. Now, your times might change going into an away game just because your flight or whatever, you know, you got to leave a little earlier, but you try to keep everything, the preparation, the same as, so you guys get into a routine, and you know, there's nothing going to be out of the ordinary that's going to, you know, upset, you know, someone's pregame ritual or whatever. So hopefully we keep it a status quo.
Coach, one of your young linebackers really got in, had a real positive game, Jeremy Sangster. Could you talk a little bit about his game and what you're expecting from him moving forward?
Well, Jeremy's, you know, he's a Mississippi kid that we had a lot of high reports on out of high school coaches that played against him. He's just a guy that has a really good football IQ. He reminds me a lot of Brian Anderson. He might not be the quickest, but he does, you know, thump you when he hits you. He's going to knock you back. He's got what we like to say. He's got a heavy head, you know, and he's got a really good feel for the ball, and he's not afraid to pull the trigger. So, you know, he was. You know, I thought he played pretty well, especially being in his first game opportunity, and he made some plays for us, and hopefully, you know, he'll grow from the mistakes that he made in the game. And every rep we get from young players right now benefits us in the future.
Dylan Bradley and really the rest of the defensive front did a good job of getting in the backfield this past weekend. I mean, just what did you see out of them? Any improvements this past weekend, just going up against them? Coach Monken said that, you know, at least on paper, that y'all, you know, should have had the upper hand, and it really seemed like it showed.
Well, we thought that going into the football game that those guys had to play well. You know, they have to control the line of scrimmage, and they did that for the most part. They've risen to the challenge. You know, we're a little bit shorthanded. You know, with loss of Will and Jerry, and so, but those guys have been great. You know, they're flexible. We have the ability to move Dylan in or bring him out, and we got the same thing with Mike now, Mike Smith, and so it gives us some flexibility to kind of take advantage of some of their strengths, moving them in. Maybe they're a little bit quicker than they would be on the outside against some of the bigger guards and stuff. So Dylan's done a nice job of taking advantage of that opportunity.
Is there any one thing specifically you look to take away from this last week's game and then, you know, implement this week?
I think just the execution was better, you know, the overall execution than the first week, and, you know, it shows in the explosive plays. We didn't give up as many, and, you know, that's the thing that we've got to continue to grow on and learn from your mistakes. And, you know, everybody's going to try to expose you, and what teams do to you, that if they see success, they're going to try to expose that the next week. Usually you have to get those problems corrected, and I thought, you know, our guys did a good job of rectifying the problems from Mississippi State into Austin Peay. So hopefully we're going to continue to grow and get better every week.
We know who played really well to the casual fan, you know, Kalen Reed, Dylan Bradley on Saturday. I'm talking about, was there anybody that sort of, you know, flew under the radar that's not on the stat sheet that really impressed you?
Well, you know, you're not really hearing his name a whole lot, but Brian Anderson's been playing really well for us this year. He's just steady force. He's more comfortable with the system. He's the guy that's kind of getting everybody aligned and making the checks and the calls for us out there, and he's just playing really steady for us. And I'm really happy with the way he's progressed all the way through fall camp and his improvement from last year. And he's making a lot of silent plays that you don't see. And I think, you know, Elijah Parker, until he got hurt, was doing the same thing. They're guys that have matured. You know, when they arrived last year, they didn't have spring ball. They came late in the summer, and so, you know, it's a learning curve, and obviously they've caught up and they're playing really well and very consistent for us.
What's it like for a defense whenever you rise to the challenge of hosting Mississippi State, then an FCS opponent, and then kind of back up with Texas State?
You know, I like to say, you know, it's an old coaching phrase, you don't get too high and you don't get too low, and you stay pretty consistent, and that's what we try to do with our approach, at least defensively. You know, usually when you go, you have those really highs, and it's hard to maintain that level of intensity and preparation. And so if you're just very consistent in your approach and your pregame and your preparation that week, and that's generally a sign of a good football team that you can do that.
After the game, and even yesterday when they came in, what was the attitude and swagger like of the defensive guys after having played so well?
Well, you know, it's like we haven't had that kind of a victory in a while. So obviously it was, the guys were pretty spirited yesterday in practice, and you could sense a confidence, and we've sensed that since fall camp. Our guys, with the depth factor and with the experience, we've brought in some older players that have helped. Our players have played a lot of reps, and you just sense that there's a confidence from fall camp moving forward that just is continuing to grow, which is a very positive sign for us.
Would you say Texas State is a better running offense? They run the ball better probably than they pass?
Yeah, they challenge you, Jason, in a lot of ways. They got a quarterback that can throw it very well. He's very accurate. They've got an option. They've got the option part of their running game. The quarterback can run it. They've formation you, so they challenge you in a lot of ways. Schematically, that's the biggest issue for us defensively right now, is how do we get our guys prepared for all the different formations, the shifts, the motions, the quarterback run game, the triple option, and then as well he can throw it. So they pose, opposing defenses a lot of problems, and our guys are going to have to prepare very well this week.
Coach, do you feel like right now, under your tenure, the defense is playing better than they ever have?
That's hard to say right now. I like this group. I really do. I like being around this group of defensive players. They're mature. They're passionate. They're working at it off the field, and that's what I enjoy, just spending time with them and growing with them and learning the game. And so far so good, and we'll see it, when it all comes to fruition. It's right now it's worry about the next week.
Anything else? Thank you, Coach.
Okay.